Hey guys, this is Nick and welcome to my Linux experiment. Switching to Linux usually involves creating a bootable media, and this is something that seems really easy once you've done it once, but can be really daunting for new users since, they have never done it before. So I think it's time to take a look at how to do that exactly. So let's start right after this. Thanks to Linode for sponsoring this video. Linode provides virtual servers that make it easy and affordable to host anything in the cloud. I've shown you how to set up your own Minecraft server on Linode, but with their one-click apps, you can also deploy servers for other games like Ark, Rust or CSGO. If you're looking to build your own website, Linode offers a lot more power and control over your server than entry-level hosting solutions, and lets you truly own your website. Every plan comes with Linode's fully human-powered customer support, so if you need help, you will have someone on the phone answer your emails or even reply to you on social networks 24/7, 365 days a year. If you're more into doing it all yourself, Linode has thousands of docs to help you do all the things you want, and even things you didn't know you wanted to do, because if it runs on Linux, it runs on Linode. Get $20 free credit on your new Linode account by signing up at linode.com/linuxexperiment. I'll leave a link in the description below. Okay, if you follow this series, you probably already know which distro you want to use. If you haven't, check out the video in the corner. It will explain which distro is more suited to which usage. And once you've selected what you want to go with, you need to download the install media. It's generally in the format of an ISO file, and this is something that was used back in the days to burn CDs or DVDs. Nowadays, it can be transferred to any removable media like a USB key or a USB drive. Now, what the ISO file contains is a live image of your distribution. Your computer will be able to boot off of it, try it out, and then install the distribution from that little live USB key. Think of it as a small mini hard drive that you can boot from and where any of the changes you make are non-persistent after your boot. So what we want to do is unpack the contents of the ISO file onto the drive you chose. You can't just copy and paste the file itself because your computer doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know how to unpack it, and won't be able to read the contents. So you need to unpack it in a certain way and make the drive bootable for your computer to be able to start off from it, and then for you to be able to install the distro. Thankfully, there are plenty of options to help you do just that. My favorite is Etcher. It's a very simple program that's available on all systems, Windows, macOS or Linux, and that can help you create a bootable media to start your own live distribution in just 3 clicks. The first one is selecting your ISO file, the second one is selecting the drive or removable media you want to use, and the third one is to start the burning process. Other options include Rufus or Linux Live USB Creator, but I think Etcher is the simpler option and should suit almost everybody. Now, some advice and a few warnings. If you already have multiple external media plugged into your computer, remove them all before you start the process of burning your live USB key. Etcher might detect the right one, but if you make a mistake, the drive will be erased, so be careful with that. Second one is try to pick a removable media with at least 8 GB of storage. I know I said 5 previously, but honestly 8 to 16 is the sweet spot. You'll get more space to try out your distro, install some stuff, store your files on it if you want to, just to make sure that you can try everything before you install. 8 GB is a minimum nowadays. The third advice would be to use USB 3 if your computer supports it. This will give you more read and write speeds and will make sure that the install is speedy and that your live distribution performs about as well as if you had installed it on an SSD or hard drive. That's important. Now, once Etcher has finished its process, your drive is ready. Your operating system might not recognize it as a valid USB drive. Windows or macOS 10 are not good at reading Linux partitions and USB keys, and so they might not think it's a valid option. They might even try to ask you to reformat it. Obviously, don't do that. Now we need to boot your computer from the live USB. So basically we need to tell your computer to boot from the live USB you just created instead of booting from your regular hard drive disk that's inside your computer. Basically, by default, most computers are configured to only boot from their internal hard drive or SSD. That's a security feature to avoid everybody being able to just plug something in and swipe all the data from the hard drive. That's kind of normal. But that also means that if you plug in your USB key and reboot, it's not going to reboot from the USB key itself. But no worries, we can change that. The only thing we need to do is to get into the boot sequence of your computer and tell it to boot from the USB removable media that you created instead of booting from your normal hard drive disk. Now, getting to the boot sequence is easy on some machines. You just press escape repeatedly at startup when the OEM logo is displayed, or F12 or another key, and the boot sequence will just display and you'll be able to pick the USB removable drive that you created and boot off from that. On older machines, you have to manually edit the boot sequence. You can't just pick the one you want to boot at any given time. And that means getting into the UEFI or BIOS. Now these are just the basic interfaces to allow you to control your computer's advanced hardware features. Be warned, if you mess something up in here, your computer might not really recover, so be careful to not break anything and only touch the boot sequence that we'll be talking about here. Now to get into the BIOS or the UEFI, it's basically just pressing a key at startup when the OEM logo appears. It can be anything from the function key row, so from escape to F1 to F12, or maybe sometimes even delete. It really depends on your computer. Some manufacturers will display the key you need to press right under the logo at startup, some others won't. Your best bet is to look up your manufacturer online with the terms BIOS or UEFI, like for example how to access BIOS on an HP computer, and basically you'll get a support page telling you that if your computer was manufactured between years X and Y, then you need to press said key. It's pretty easy, and you just need to press it repeatedly or hold it at startup just to make sure you can access the BIOS or the boot sequence. Now, once you're into the BIOS, there's another issue. All BIOS looks different. Some might look very modern with a lot of colors, like the one I've got on my Ryzen desktop, and some might look really old school, like the one on my MateBook. The thing you're looking for here is boot sequence, or boot priority, or priority order, or hard drive priority, anything that sounds like you can define in which order you want to boot. You can access this, and what you want to do is find the name of your USB removable media and put it at the top of the list to tell your computer that it has to start from this one and not your regular hard drive. Once that's done, you need to save your settings. It's almost always pressing F10 to save and exit, but sometimes you'll get a graphical interface to allow you to save and exit as well. Once your settings are saved, you can now reboot your computer and it should boot from the USB removable media. If it doesn't, you probably didn't put the right key at the right order, and so you need to retweak that again. And now you're in your live system, so basically your distribution should be booting up and you should be connected as a live session user. So basically what this means is that you can use the computer using your distribution running from the USB removable drive. Depending on the speed of the drive and the port you plugged it in, you might get good speeds and good performance, or terrible if you're using USB 1 or 2. I'd really recommend you use USB 3 to make sure that the experience you have trying out the distro is as close as you could get by installing it on an SSD or a regular hard drive disk. Remember that anything you do here is not persistent. If you delete files from your hard drive, yes, it will stick, but if you modify anything linked to the distribution itself, nothing will stick after your boot. Now, some distros will offer you the option either to try out the distro or to install immediately. I would recommend you always go for try first. This will allow you to get into a regular desktop that looks exactly like what you'll get once you install the distribution, and it will allow you to try out all your peripherals and removable disks and everything, just to make sure that everything you have is compatible and works well with Linux. It's the time to go crazy, plug in everything that you can, your driving wheels, your gamepads, your graphics cards, your capture cards, your webcams, anything that you want to use, your printer, scanner. Plug it all in and try it out separately just to see if everything works, everything is recognized correctly, and if it isn't, maybe start looking it up online, because this live session has a web browser, and if you're connected to the internet, then you can browse and look for stuff. And once you're certain that this distro is the one for you, it might be time to install it, but this we'll cover in the next part, so stay tuned for that. Now, thank you guys for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If you really did like the video, I have a Patreon page. Patrons get to enjoy a monthly Patroncast and get to vote on which topics I'll work on the next month, so check it out using the link in the description below. Now, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!